Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining me. And this week, we're going to be talking about how to make yogurt with Lactobacillus gasseri. Now, this is a new thing that I have just tried, and it's a very important microbe, L. gasseri, that lives in the urinary tract, the digestive system of the body, the genital area, and it has a special ability to live in the upper gastrointestinal area, similar to Lactobacillus reuteri. Now, Lactobacillus gasseri is also believed to offer specific health benefits, and it has also been helping people with SIBO, just like L. reuteri is. Both of those two species work very well to help recolonize the upper gastro area, because most other types of bacteria live in the colon. And these two, L. gasseri and L. reuteri, both are very effective for those that have small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, or SIBO. And we've seen it help quite a few people with SIBO. And it also helps people who have bacterial vaginosis and peptic ulcers. It seems to help a lot of people with colitis and inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome. It's very helpful for all of those types of ailments. And there are a lot of studies saying that L. gasseri can help prevent body weight gain and fat accumulation and the pro-inflammatory gene expression of the adipose tissue, and that helps to encourage weight loss. So now, before I say that, there's a lot of buzz about how L. gasseri helps you to lose weight. Not all studies show the same thing. So I'm not going to promote that because they're kind of making it the be-all, end-all. It's in one particular study, it helped people lose like 10 pounds in 3 months. But not all studies are showing that. I tried it. I didn't see that effect. So I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think that it does that on everybody. It may do it on some people. I don't know how that study was performed. I read it. I read it several times. And it's just one of those things where I think more things need to be done about it. But some people have had success with that. But I think there's other benefits to L. gasseri that are just as important, if not more important. And I think those health benefits could be great for people who are really struggling with things like SIBO, IBS, colitis, especially women who are having problems like with urinary tract infections and things like that, because that's where gasseri likes to live. And chances are, if you've had an antibiotic, it's killed that off. So it's a really important one to help restore into the body so that it can help you to stay in balance. Now, here's something that L. gasseri and L. reuteri both do. They produce something called bacteriocins, which are small proteins that act as natural antibiotics on unhealthy bacteria. And there are many different types of bacteriocins in L. gasseri, and they can be very effective against harmful species like Enterobacteria, E. coli, Salmonellus, Campylobacter. They can all grow in the small intestine and can cause bacterial overgrowth, which is SIBO. And I've had extraordinary results from L. reuteri yogurt, and we get so many emails from people that it's helped. And especially, people who've needed to have who've had problems with SIBO, but also it promotes deep sleep. It helps produce oxytocin, which gives you that overall feeling of love and compassion for others. It helps muscle growth. It does so many things that I was really shocked by it all. And it's so exciting to see people feel better. And then I started getting emails from people who were wanting to make L. gasseri yogurt too. And that's one of the things, that's why we developed this particular, it's a yogurt starter, but it's actually not a yogurt. It's actually just a fermented dairy, because here's the deal with yogurt. You have to have specific strains to call it yogurt. So even though this is a fermented dairy, it really looks like a yogurt. We're not supposed to call it that, but I don't know what else to call it, because that's what it looks like and that's how it tastes. So we developed it into a superfood starter so that you can make L-Gasarai yogurt and L-Reuteri yogurt, and you can combine them and make a SIBO yogurt if you're really struggling and need that type of intervention in your life. Now, this yogurt offers high dose CFU counts of L-Reuteri and L-Gasarai. It's really delicious, and it's the body's preferred method of receiving specific species of microbes. Part of the problem I think we're having with the overabundant people who now have SIBO is that so many people are taking huge amounts of strains of probiotics and supplements, and they're opening up in the wrong parts of the body that's causing SIBO and other problems, because you're not meant to get that in the form of a supplement. Often they're killed in stomach acids, but they do open up in parts of the body, and then they cause all these other problems. So it's much better to get it in food, and fermented dairy is, and it can also be done, we haven't tried the non-dairy yet. I hate to say that. We've tried it with the L-Reuteri, but you can do that L-Reuteri and non-dairy. I haven't tried the L-Gasarai with non-dairy, but I'm assuming it'll work the same as L-Reuteri because they're very similar, the way that you make them. So having it in a yogurt is a spectacular way to get more L-Gasarai. And we have several recipes that I want to tell you about. So, L-Reuteri has become a mainstay in my diet. And then I started to make the L-Gasarai yogurt, and I really love it, guys. It has it's a little bit milder taste than L-Reuteri, although very similar, but it does have a milder taste. It tends to be a little bit creamier. I really, really like it. It just depends on the type of milk you ferment it in. But it can really help restore your microbiome, especially if you've had a lot of antibiotics. And I have a SIBO yogurt recipe that you need to check out that uses L-Gasarai and L-Reuteri together. If you're struggling with small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, it's a wonderful yogurt. And it wasn't one that I developed. It was Dr. Davis, who wrote the book Super Gut, who's a friend and a colleague. And he was the one that came up with this yogurt, not us. And he called it SIBO yogurt, but he used 3 strains. He used L-Reuteri, L-Gasarai, and another culture, Bacillus coagulans. And we don't have that starter, but you could always get that and add it. Although we're seeing huge results with just L-Reuteri and L-Gasarai for SIBO. And it seems to be really effective. And I'm going to put a link in the description below because Dr. Davis is so great. He's the one that's really developed all this. He was the one that figured out how to make L-Reuteri and L-Gasarai. And he's really terrific. And he's seen a lot of results in his own personal practice with people that have really done very well taking this and eradicating SIBO. And I really recommend his book called Super Gut by Dr. William Davis. And here's what he says in his book. You can also choose to use a specific probiotic yogurt that can help to eradicate SIBO, which I call Super Gut SIBO yogurt. Our experience with this yogurt is preliminary, but a growing number of people have been reversing their high breath H2 levels, which is a testing device used for determining SIBO, by making this yogurt that includes the microbes L-Gasarai, L-Reuteri, and B. coagulus fermented to a high bacterial count in a special process. L-Gasarai is so unique, and it takes up residence in the upper gastro area and produces up to 7 bacteriocins, which are those natural antibiotics I talked about. And they will go after the things that don't belong there. L-Gasarai is a virtual powerhouse, including natural antibiotics, very effective against many species of SIBO. Supergut SIBO yogurt can stack the odds in favor of reversing SIBO, and potentially it's a nicer, softer, friendlier way to do it. Just recognizing that our experience with this results is preliminary, I am planning a clinical trial to formally document the evidence. And that was that's from his book, Supergut. And he knows a lot about this. And he's the one that came out with the method on how to make this yogurt, because it takes a long time to ferment. You've got to ferment it for 36 hours, and you got to do it at a very low temperature, because what happens is it doesn't really do much till it gets to, I think it's the 26th hour. That's when the CFUs of L-Gasarai and L-Reuteri, both those yogurts, start to climb. And you ferment it at a very low temperature, you give it a prebiotic, and then you really, after it's fermented for a long time, it really grows and multiplies and gives you a huge amount of the L-Gasseri and reuteri. And I've learned so much about this microbe. And it seems to be have a lot of benefits for emotional health too. Most preliminary research is suggesting that it can help L-Gasseri, can help with menopausal symptoms and hot flashes, and even help in the prevention of H1N1 flu and more. And I have research to show you that, and I'll put that in the article, and you can look at that if you want to look at that. It's exciting to see more and more people looking for food to fix their guts. So much better than supplements. And they have far-reaching abilities to restore missing microbes and thereby restore health. So I have lots of recipes, starter cultures to help you understand the trillions of microbes that live within you and that offer you extraordinary health benefits. So to keep your L. reuteri or L-Gasseri at the best temperature, you need an appliance with a temperature adjustment of 100 degrees or less. Like 100, it really likes body temperature, and you can ferment L-Gasseri at a higher temperature, like 104, 108. But if you're going to make it with the L. reuteri, we just do it at 100, and you still get huge amounts of CFUs from L-Gasseri. It works really well with L. reuteri if you want to make them together. And we have a special yogurt makers that we recommend. I'm going to put all of that on my site. I'm literally in love with this yogurt maker by Luvelli. I had never heard of them until I started making this yogurt, and people were using their yogurt maker with great success. And I just absolutely love this yogurt maker. It's beautiful. It's great. It has the perfect temperatures and the perfect amount of timer on that you can set to make this yogurt, and you will love this yogurt maker. And I'll put the link description below. You can also use other appliances. We have a recommendation of which ones have the right settings and the right amount of time control on it. And we have little Sutex ones that are less expensive that you can buy like on Amazon. You can do it in Instapots. It's a little bit more problematic in Instapots because most Instapots have a yogurt setting that's 110, and that will kill L. reuteri. It won't kill L-Gasseri, but would kill L. reuteri. So you need to get a yogurt setting from one of the newer Instapots where you can adjust it, and I have a link in the description below for that too. We also have something called a sous vide that makes fabulous yogurt. I love it because I can make 6 jars at a time. So I can make 2 L-Gasseri, 2 L. reuteri, and then I can make a SIBO yogurt. I can do them all at once, and then they last in your fridge for a long time. And again, I'm going to put all the links below. When you're talking about which dairy to use to make this L-Gasseri, we recommend using ultra-pasteurized because ultra-pasteurized helps to denature most of the lactoglobulin in milk, and it allows the yogurt to thicken and join with the other proteins that form a mesh. So for your first batch, here's what I recommend. Use half and half for your first batch. You don't have to keep using half and half, but just for your first batch, it works best. Make sure it's ultra-pasteurized, and if it's not, you can heat the milk to 195 Fahrenheit and hold it there for 10 minutes, and then you can use that and let it cool down. But you'll get a really thick, firm product. Now, sometimes the first batch, which is the activation batch, can separate a lot and smell really strong like a yeasty cheese. That's because you're using half and half. Doesn't have a lot of lactose. Ferments like crazy. It's the first activation batch. So don't freak out if it separates. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. If it separates into whey and curds or it comes out the jar, like starts to grow out the jar, looks like a big curd, it's okay. You can still use that to make your next batch. And if you use that to make your next batch, that will be more like yogurt and have much less separation. And even if it does separate, guys, still use it because let's say you use whole milk. It's going to separate more than half and half. I use 2% milk, but I always do that on my second batch. So I make the first batch with half and half. I use 2 tablespoons of that batch to make my next batch. And I use ultra-pasteurized 2% milk because I like a lower fat milk. And it turns out great. You can also use whole milk. I don't know why I think whole 2% works better, but it seems to work better for me. Just make sure that it's ultra-pasteurized. And anytime the lower the fat milk, a little bit, you might have a little bit of separation at the bottom. And if you keep getting separation and it keeps turning into curds and whey, use less prebiotic because you may have a super strong batch and cut that back the prebio. And you can also use inulin or potato starch. Okay, so inulin works better than potato starch, but I would use less of it. Use 1 tablespoon instead of 2 if it keeps separating because it's makes it go supersonic. You must have a very high CFU count if it's doing that on your second batches when you're using your yogurt as a starter. The first batch, it does it kind of normally, but on the second batches and the subsequent batches, it shouldn't be doing that as much. So use a little bit less prebio. That helps, like 1 tablespoon instead of 2. And I also turn the temperature down to like 97 degrees instead of 100. That makes a difference too. That helps a lot. And make sure you have a water bath going in your yogurt maker. That makes a big difference too. Now, don't freak out if it does separate. People think that it's bad. It's not bad. It just, all yogurt separates. As soon as you put a spoon in it, you get that whey on top. It's just normal. You can still use it in smoothies. One of my favorite things to do, if my yogurt's really strong, I use it to make cottage cheese, L-Reuteri cottage cheese or L-Gasirai cottage cheese. It's delicious. And you can do that with both of these yogurts. What you do is you take a gallon of milk and you put 1.5 cups of the yogurt into it. You raise the temperature to, I can't remember now. I think it's 100. No, I don't think it's 100. It's like 86 or something. I've got a recipe. I'll put the recipe on there. You let it sit for 24 hours, and the next day you strain it out. You kind of heat it up a little bit to 100. It'll separate away in curds, and then you spoon it into butter muslin, and it makes the best cottage cheese ever. It's got all the L-Gasirai and L-Reuteri in it. You can do it with either one of those, and it works really good. And it makes delicious cottage cheese. And cottage cheese has got so many different ways you can use it. I love it in smoothies. I love it. I make desserts with it. I love to have in the afternoon with an apple and cinnamon for lunch. Chop up an apple or put berries, and I do pomegranates right now is my big thing. Anyway, that's what you can do. You can also make dressings with it. I've made a blue cheese dressing with my L-Reuteri if it's super sour or super strong. That is delicious. I haven't written up that recipe. I will do that. It's a really good recipe. But you can always put it in a smoothie with fruit. It tastes really good. And it's one of the things, just don't throw it out, guys. It's such high counts of CFUs. And I can help you figure this out because I've been doing it for a while now. I know what to do. I love the way that it's so versatile. So if it's separating, those are a few things to do. And I have an FAQ page, and I'm going to put that in the link description below so I can help you. So it'll help you, give you ideas, help you understand, so you can see pictures so you know what to do. It's so worth the making. This is probably, well, next to cultured vegetable kombucha, this takes longer than like kefir, which is fabulous. Still my favorite cultured food. But it takes a little bit longer to make, and it's a little bit more because you have to have a yogurt maker, but it's so worth it. Guys, I have been eating it every day since we got this because I couldn't believe the benefits. I couldn't believe my sleep is so deep and so hard. I can't go back from that. Everybody in my family's taking it because it helps them sleep so much and sleep so deeply. And it helps a lot of things. It helps you to really start to feel, L-Gasirai has this ability along with L-Reuteri. Both of them have, although L-Reuteri makes oxytocin, L-Gasirai doesn't really do that, but it does increase just the way that your body handles food. You'll find yourself much less, hungry, you won't want to eat food that is not as good for you. It just seems to do something with the microbiome that really makes you crave the right types of food. And I really love that about this yogurt. It seems to really I have it every single day. I can't stop eating it. It's delicious. And as soon as I think, okay, I'm going to have this for breakfast and have some L-Gasirai. My new thing that I've been doing is taking pomegranates, because we have a pomegranate tree. Pomegranates in a bowl with a hunk of L-Gasirai yogurt or L-Reuteri. And then I pour a little bit of milk over it and I chop up walnuts. It is so good. I love it. And a little bit of maple syrup or honey. Oh my gosh. It's so good this time of year. It's my favorite thing with a cup of coffee for breakfast. And I'm so full, I can't eat anything else. It's really good. It creates this nice feeling of well-being. And it's just super fun to make. So if you're having problems, you need to go to my FAQ page. I can help you fix it, or I've got a lot of tips and tricks. I'm still learning a lot about this yogurt. I'll be honest. I'm still learning. There's so much to know because it's fermented so differently, but health benefits, even if you guys, you can't understand the high benefits you're going to get from this. You can't take a capsule and get the benefits that you will from this yogurt. The CFU counts are huge, and it's just so much more effective in the body, and you'll feel the difference, and you'll love it. So you have to use you can't use raw milk, because raw milk has its own competing bacteria in it. Also, it has to be ultra pasteurized or heated so that you get rid of some of the lactoglobulin that causes the yogurt to separate. And you can reculture this. I've recultured, let's see, how many times have I recultured? So when I say reculture, you take 2 tablespoons of the yogurt that you've made and make another jar. And I've probably done that 15 times, and it's still going. So each jar, I take 2 spoonfuls of that to make as the starter. I don't use a package. It works much better to use the yogurt as a starter anyway. And then you make another, you add a couple tablespoons of prebio and the milk, and then you ferment it again. And it just seems to keep going. And once you'll notice if it gets less and less sour tasting and less, tastes more like milk, then you're not getting the high CFU counts you want. So you either need to use a new sachet or maybe give it a little more prebio and see if it keeps doing that, you probably need a new sachet. So the strain that we're using for our L-Gastri Superfood Starter is BNR17. And that's the one Dr. Davis recommends in his book. And it's the one that's done. I have tons of studies on this too. It's the one they recommend for all the health benefits that we talked about earlier. So L-Gastri is another superfood yogurt that's fantastic to add to your diet. And if you're making L-Reuteri already, you might as well do this too, because then you can have both of them, and they do different things. So they give you benefits. Like L-Reuteri helps you make the oxytocin, which helps keep your skin. It helps the collagen that develops, keeps your skin looking young, causes muscle growth, deep sleep. L-Gastri helps with all kinds of vaginal problems. It also helps SBO. It also helps with some emotional well-being. It does things for IBS, and it has a lot of benefits because it's a different strain, and it's a microbe that should be in the body. It's one that's naturally abiding in your body naturally, unless you've had a lot of antibiotics. And if you've had a lot of antibiotics, then you've probably killed it off. And you really need this because it helps with things like colitis, inflammatory bowel diseases, irritable bowel syndrome. And so many people are having problems with that. They're not getting enough fiber that feeds their microbiome, but they're also missing strains they need. So this is a great way to get it. The yogurt is a great way to implement this into your diet and help you to get back the L-Gastri that your body needs. And you'll see the health benefits. And you'll feel it. You don't have to believe me. You can try it. And you'll see and feel the benefits. It's pretty astounding, the benefits I'm getting from these different yogurts. And it's fun to make. I love it. I just made 6 jars yesterday in my sous vide. And this is what I did. I did L-Reuteri. I did one L-Gastri. And then I made 2 SIBO yogurts. And then I made, I made 2 L-Reuteris, 2 L-Gastri, 2 SIBO yogurts. And I could fit 6 jars in my sous vide. It was awesome. And then I have them, and then they last quite a while. They'll last over a month. And then I use them also to make more. So if you have any problems, or if you want to understand, or if you want to get the starter, I will give you the link description below. You can head over there. You can read more about it. It's really good to educate yourself, because when you understand what a food does for you, I think it works better. I think your body I think the knowledge and wisdom of understanding how things are working in the body is huge as to how well you feel, because your belief in something is a big deal. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but the placebo effect is huge with any kind of food. If you believe something's bad for you and you eat it, you're going to have problems. And if you believe something's good, then you know what I'm saying? There's a lot to that. And my sister worked in the sciences, and she said it was just astounding to her, that the belief that people had, which can make a placebo and the people aren't even getting what they're supposed to be getting. So, not to say that, I tell you what, I can tell when I've had this yogurt. I've never felt like this, and I've done a lot of cultured foods for over 20 years, and I'll take this stuff forever if I can keep having the deep sleep I'm having and the muscle growth and the youngness that's happening to my whole body, my skin. We don't have to decline with age. As long as we take care of ourselves, we can get better. And I've seen that in myself, and I'm 62, and I feel like it was funny. I was talking to my kids the other day. Christmas is coming up, and I feel so different than I did last Christmas. And it's really because of the L-Reuteri, Gastride, some things I've been doing. I've seen a huge difference in my life since last March, since we started doing it. And I hope that for you, because we're seeing that in our business, and we have so many people buying it and so many people getting better. It's a very affordable thing if you use the yogurt as a starter, because then you can use it again and again so many times. So it makes it really nice and easy to make this yogurt. It's really fun to make. So I really enjoy making it and watching my batches. I get up in the morning, can't wait to see what it's done. So anyway, but that's me. I love cultured foods because they keep me healthy. They keep me young. And I'm watching everybody my age start to decline, and I'm like, not happening. It's not happening. I feel great too. So anyway, I know this sounds like one big pitch, but it's when I find something that helps me and makes me well, I just can't wait to share it with you. And I can't wait to help you understand about your body and the benefits that these microbes, that are trillions of them inside of you, are giving you every single day of your life. So if you've had a lot of antibiotics, this might not be a bad start for you. Or the L-Reuteri, either one, or kefir, which I love and still have every day. All of those things have really restored my life, my health, and my emotional health too. All of those have made my life a joy. It's so much fun to make these foods and to enjoy them and then share them with you. So thanks for listening, guys. Check out all the links below if you want to learn more. And thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.